Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We're delighted to see you here this morning and thankful that so many of you are here from out of town and can be with us. Thankful to those who come regularly to services this morning, whether you're joining us here in the sanctuary or at home. We welcome you. Just a couple of words of introduction for those who are joining us for the first time. You will please follow along. You'll find two books in the seat pocket in front of you. One is the prayer book. That is the blue-bound book called Mishkan Tefillah. That is the lion's share of our service will be held using Mishkan Tefillah. On most of the pages you will find the Hebrew and the English and the transliteration as well to be able to follow along. You'll also find typically a poetic or an interpretation of the passage that we are praying or singing as well. And we hope that you will join us in song and in prayer and in movement and with your eyes. Show Jonas and show each other that we are continuing to celebrate Shabbat together by being engaged and a part of our worship. Jonas has worked incredibly hard to prepare for this morning, and he will be leading us in prayer, not doing a solo gig, right? Not doing a solo gig, right. To that end, we'll ask you please to sing when a song speaks to you, to hum if you don't know the words, to move your body, to tap, to snap, as you see fit. Please, we'll just ask you to silence your cell phones, and there's no photography in the sanctuary at all during services. Also, we'll ask please that you keep your masks snugly over your mouth and nose for the entirety of the service. And really, other than that, please be with us, pray with us, and celebrate with us on Shabbat, as we do each week as Jonas becomes a bar mitzvah. Our service begins this morning on page 192 with the singing of Ma Tovu.
Ma Tovu ochaleha Yaakov, mishkenoteha Yisrael. Va'anim berov hastecha, avod beitecha. Eshtahave, el he'alkoshecha, be'iratecha. Adonai ahavti milmetecha, umkom mishkan kelodecha. Va'anim eshtachave ve'echra'a, evrecha lifnei Adonai osi. Va'anim tefilati, Adonai et ratzon. Elohim berov hastecha, Avonim ve'medishecha.
Page 218 as we continue with the singing of Psalm 150.
Hallelujah,
We continue now in the middle of page 223. Page 223.
You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion, your strength and sovereignty, sanctity and grandeur and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Praised are you, servant of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighted in song, eternal majesty. Please turn to page 226 and
We're actually going to go to 224 and do the Chatzi Kaddish, though we're eager to pray on page 226 as well, but can join us please on page 224 for the Chatzi Kaddish, which Jonas will lead.
Yekadal v'yekadash me Rabba.
Amen.
Ba'alm ladivrach hirute, ba'alm lich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvkayedeko be'Yisrael. Bagala, uvizman kariv, v'meru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevora, lulam ulal me'omaya, yepara v'yishtava, v'yipa'ar v'yiroma v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brechu. Ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata damin ran realma imeru. Amen. Now please turn to page 226 and rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorah, Baruch Adonai HaMevorah, Le'olam Va'ed. Praise Adonai, whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, whom praise is due now and forever. In the beginning, even then, a new light was sown for the righteous, a promise that your light would become the catalyst, first for order and then for hope. Another language and light, help us use these words as you have to cast light into dark waters and draw out justice and truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, you said, and light blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us. As we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life.
Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please be seated.
Together. V'ata et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבת על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Please turn to page 239.
239.
Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. There is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all of Israel, we sing out and rejoice. Mi chamocha ba'el mi Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osei fele, nora tehilot, osei fele. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? With new song inspired at the shore of the sea, the redeemed sang your praise. In unison, they all offered thanks. Acknowledging your sovereignty, they said, Adonai will reign forever. Rock of Israel, rise in support of Israel and redeem Judah and Israel as you promised. Our Redeemer, Adonai Sa'avot, is your name. Blessed are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Adonai Sefai Taifita. Oh, sorry, please rise. Nagiti Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, let my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avotinu, V'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, V'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'kunei Hakol, V'zocher Astei V'ima'od, U'mevin Geulam Lifnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'achava, Melech Hozer U'ashia U'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'etzrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Rav Loshia, Mashiv Harach, Marit HaGashem, Mehakel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Ravim, Somech Noflim Berlechei Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Micha Mochal Baal Gevurot, Umidonei Lach, Melech Meni Umechayeh, Umatmiya Yeshua, V'ne'emat Lechachayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei HaKol.
מקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה לזה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך הארץ כבודו אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מאדיר שמך בארץ ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו וחטאו אלוהינו הוא אבינו מלכנו שמשיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי אני אדוני אלוהיכם ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד קולך לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד קולך ולנצחים קדושתך נקדיש קדושתך נקדיש בשמך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם לעולם ועד לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד קולך לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד קולך
Please be seated.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת מקדש שבי שבת כולם יזבחו ויתענגו מטובך שבת אוי ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת והשביעי רצית בו וקידשת שבת חמדת ימים אתה קראת שבת אוי ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת זכר למעשה בראשית שבת זכר למעשה בראשית שבת אוי ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
Page 253 as Jonas continues.
We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories, glowing even in darkness, For Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love, we offer thanks and blessing, O God.
Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer to life, to peace, and to joy. May we find true rest, holiness in our deeds, worth in our study of Torah. Let us feed on the love of goodness. Let us drink from the love of goodness, restrain our thirst for excess, and cleanse our hearts to serve life well. On this holy Shabbat, may we draw near to light in life, in peace, and in joy.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod.
Please respond with Amodi Nachnu La, which means we give thanks. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations.
Modim anachnu lach.
For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons.
Modim anachnu lach.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
Modim anachnu lach.
For a human community, our common past and future hope. For oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression.
Modim anachnu lach.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
Modim anachnu lach.
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
Modim anachnu lach.
For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
Modim anachnu lach.
May we pray that we might not live by our fears, but by our hopes, not by words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving.
Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot.
Please pray silently.
We continue now with our Seder Kriyat Torah, our service for the reading of Torah. For that, you will need both your prayer book and the other blue-bound book that is in your seat pocket in front of you. We will, in just a few moments, have the opportunity to hear Jonas read from Torah, from our scrolls. He'll be reading from Genesis chapter 18, and that will eventually be found on page 123 in your Torah commentary. But just before that, we will invite you, please, to turn in your prayer books, in your first blue-bound books, to page 362. Page 362, we will invite some of Jonas's grandparents up, Marcia and Bruce at this moment, and also Laura and Rico and Jonas to receive the Torah into his arms eventually. And we'll ask you, please, in body or in spirit, to join us as we rise. Please rise. So these are our scrolls, our people's history, our tradition, our legend, our most promising and compelling teachings, and the way that we have kept them alive, and our stories, and the heartbeat of our people is by passing it from generation to generation. And you, Jonas, today are the next link, strong link, we know, because you choose to be in this moment. You choose to attach yourself to this tradition and to us as a people. So we pass it to the generation of your grandparents and all those who came before them, to the generation of your parents, without whom we would be here, and into your arms, where we know it is safe and held. And you got it? We got it, right? And that's what we say. At every turn that we hold Torah, we say, do you have it? And we say, do you have it in your arms? Do you have it close to your heart? And do you have it in your mind? That it should guide how and who we are as a people.
אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך, מלכותך מלכות כל העמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני יוסלם מויתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, אבחר העמים, היטיב וברצונך את ציון, תבנה חמות ירושלים, כי בכל לבוד בטחנו, מלך אל רם ונישא אדון עולמים, כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא
Please be seated. Please be seated. We'll continue now with Jonas's Torah reading from Vayera, from Parshat Vayera, Genesis 18. He'll tell us a little bit more in his Devar Torah as well, in his words. But so very much is found here, where Abraham welcomes 3 visitors, announces that Sarah will soon have a son. Abraham argues with God about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. We have the story of Lot here. We have Isaac's birth and circumcision. And then we have the testing of Abraham. There is so very much in this section of Genesis, and Jonas reads us one component of that. We'll ask those of you who have Torah honors to please share them from this microphone here. Page 123 in your Torah commentary is where you can follow along.
For our first Aliyah, we call your cousin and 2 uncles, Rich Feldman, Aaron Moskovich, and Bennett Moskovich. Yamdu Aryeh Feigal Aaron ben Masha Benyamin, Baruch ben Masha Benyamin, Ilya Rishona.
Baruch et Adonai Hamrach.
Baruch Adonai Hamrach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai and Barak Tolam Vayed.
Baruch Atah Adonai. Keep going.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amin v'nata lana et torato Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Vayera elav Adonai be'elonei mamre vehu yoshev petach ha'ohel kahom hayom vayisa einav vayar v'hinei shosha anashim nitzavim alav vayar vayarot likratam mipetach ha'ohel vayishtahu artsa Vayomar Adonai Imna Matzatichem Beinecha Al Nata Avor Ma'al Dedecha. You
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Asher Natan Lanat Torah Emer Echne Olam Natar Tarnu Baruch
atah Adonai
Noten ha'torah.
Amen. Mazel tov. For our second Aliyah, we call your parents. They're here, Laura and John Rica Grifoni. Tamot Yisrael Bat Masha Benyamin Lili Yashniya.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You have enlightened this path with the wisdom of Torah, giving it to the Jewish people as this particular way. Blessed are you, merciful one, who gives the Torah to the Jewish people.
Amen.
Yuhachna me'at mayim v'rachasu raglechem v'sha'anu tachat cha'et v'cha v'alechem v'sa'adu livhem v'charta avoru tiolken avarken avdechem vayomru ken ta'aset ta'asher debarta Vayimaher Avraham ha'ohela el Sarah Vayomer Mahari Shelo Seim Hemasolet Lushim Vasim Ugod.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'hayei olam natav b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Holy One, a blessing, your presence fills creation. This Torah is a teaching of truth, whole and balanced. From it comes eternal life for the people who embrace it. Blessed are you, merciful One, who gives this Torah to the Jewish people.
Amen. Mazel tov. Now for the last Aliyah, we have a special bar mitzvah, Jonas Grifoni. Yamot, 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 Yamot. Yosef ben Yisrael, Habachor bar mitzvah. Hazak, Hazak, Hazak. Veni Hazek. Hazak ve'matz.
Baruch Adonai Havorach. Baruch Adonai Havorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'netem Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Ve'el habakar ratz Avraham Vaikach ben bakar rach vatov Vaitem el chanar Vaimeher masot oto Vaikach chema v'chalav Uven habakar asher asa Vaitem lifnechen Vehu omed avlechem tachat etz vayocherlu. Vayomru elav aye Sarah ishtaha vayomer hine vaochel. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chaye Olam Nata Betochenu Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. And as we redress the Torah, we will in just a few moments prepare to replace it in the ark, but before that time, we always follow words of Torah by the parents' words of Torah, which we know can only exist together. And Laura and Rico will share their parents' blessing with Jonas at this time.
Shabbat Shalom. We would first like to thank our friends and family for coming to this important event in Jonas's life. Some of you came from as far away as the Hawaiian Islands, the West Coast, others from the East Coast, traveling by trains, planes, and automobiles. But no matter the length of travel, the important part is our ability to come together after numerous delays to this event caused by the pandemic. Jonas, your hard work and dedication to the Torah was difficult. When you arrived at Temple Sinai several years ago, you did not know Hebrew, beyond being able to recite the alphabet. Now you have mastered the Torah and prayers. Here you stand on the bima, wearing a talit given to you by your cousin Richie, belonging to your great-grandfather Joe, to whom you were named after. You have further dedicated yourself to the temple by becoming a madrahim, working with the kindergartners as they become part of the Sinai community.
Jonas, you're a kind, thoughtful, respectful. You welcome all as your friend. Teachers at your school have taken notice of your kindness, selecting you as the student of the month each year. You have become more confident in yourself, taking steps outside your comfort zone, joining the Boy Scouts and aspiring to become an Eagle Scout, always willing to try new things. Your determination to achieve your goals will set you up for a great success in life. With your love of all things aviation, and your drive, we know that you will achieve your goals of becoming a pilot, and we would feel fortunate to be in your capable hands at 35,000 feet. We could not be more proud of you as you take this first step into becoming a man. We can't wait to see what the future holds.
Jonas, you're our mensch and we love you.
We'll prepare to return the Torah to its resting place in the ark, and we'll invite you, please, to rise.
On page 374, it's 374, please join us. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, ki nisgav shemo levado, hodol eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keret ne'amo, tehila lechol chasidov, livnei
Please be seated. Please be seated. We continue now with the companion to the Torah portion. Jonas will be reading from the prophets from the second book of Kings, chapter 4. You can find that passage on page 149 of your Torah commentary book, page 149, 2 Kings, chapter 4, preceded by the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'vi'im tovim v'ratzav v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'torah uv Moshe avdo uv Yisrael amo v'dinviyei ha'emet v'tzerdek. Vaisha echad min shei hanei v'hanevim tza'aka Elisha lemor avdecha ishi me'et v'yata yadata ki avdecha hayat Adonai v'hanashe ba lekachat et shenei yaladai lor la'avadim. Vayomer elecha Elisha ma'aseh la hagidili ma'ish la b'bayit vatomer ein leshiv Kol B'Bait Kim Asuch Shamein Vayomer Lechi Sha'ana Lila Ki Lim Min Hachutz Me'et Kol Sha'anai Ki Kelim Rekim Al Tamiti Uvata Visagart Hadelet Ba'adech Uhad Banai Redzak Al Kol Hakelim Ha'ele V'Nachamale Tasi. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Sur kol haolamim Tzedek b'chol hadarot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer ve'oseh Ha'mdaber u'mkayem Shekol divarav emet v'tzedek Al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah Ve'al ha'viyim ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod ultith aret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim la uvarhim ota yibrashim ha b'fi chol hai ta'ami le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Amen and amen, we say. You took us to good and important places in our Torah reading and our Haftarah reading. I loved what you said, Rico, about you would trust him with us at so many feet. You are showing us that you are ever more capable and we can trust you with our future as a people. So we are excited to see as you continue to learn and grow and become even more rooted in your Torah and your prayer life, to the places that you will take us. You'll continue now with your Devar Torah, your words. As much as your ascent, we hope, will be quick and safe, we hope that your ascent into your Devar Torah will be slow and calm.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
In this Torah passage, 3 messengers surprise Abraham with their sudden appearance. Abraham goes to greet them. Being hospitable, he gets them water and food. While they were eating, one of the 3 men asked him where his wife Sarah was. Abraham replied that she was in their tent. One of the 3 men stated that Sarah would have bore a son when he returned the same time next year. Sarah laughed from behind the tent flaps, as she thought this was pretty much impossible. Abraham and Sarah were far too old to have a son, but the joke was on her. That's precisely what happens. Yet, even with these seemingly outlandish predictions, Abraham was still welcoming and hospitable. Hospitality goes a long way. The word hospitality means the friendly and generous reception and entertainment of guests, visitors, or strangers. Abraham did precisely that. Being hospitable has been a part of humanity for thousands of years, until 2020 came around. Looking back to 2020, the year of the coronavirus, we were no longer able to be hospitable. We shut ourselves in our homes, businesses were closed, and the whole world came to a stop. Friends hanging out in groups, going to the mall and the park, turned to text and FaceTime. We can no longer meet new people, and we couldn't be with the ones we knew. Family gatherings surrounding holidays and celebrations turned into family Zooms. Being hospitable was a tough thing to do because everyone in the world was confined to their homes. Although COVID-19 is an event affecting everyone globally, I had a major event that affected only my family. One of the most common phrases I hear is help your neighbor. And it doesn't have to be your neighbor, but anyone when they need it. When I was 8, our food truck exploded in our driveway. There where I was, one night in May, standing outside at 4 a.m. not knowing what to do. My neighbor rushed right over to our house and brought us over to their home. His daughter was wide awake, and we watched cartoons the whole morning because neither of us can sleep. Reflecting on my Torah portion, what my neighbor did was indeed a hospitable action. After moving to Rochester after the food truck event, I joined Temple Sinai. Every couple of Sundays, we stacked our desks and chairs and pushed them up to the wall, creating a large space in the middle. At first, I didn't understand why we were doing this. On the Wednesday of that week, we would gather in another space of the temple. The reason for this is a program that Temple Sinai does called RAIN, Rochester Area Interfaith Hospitality Network. Our temple is giving others a place to stay. This act of inviting strangers into your home, or in this case, temple, reinforces the importance of hospitality. When you have a bar mitzvah, you're also being hospitable. You're welcoming in friends and family from near and far, and you include anyone that wants to enter the temple. The temple's doors from the community. I'm honored to welcome everyone into our temple to my bar mitzvah. In the theme of Abraham welcoming strangers and feeding them, I have filled these baskets on the bima with food for donation to the People's Pantry of Rochester. And before everyone here eats at the Kiddush, I would like to send my gratitude to several people. First, I'd like to thank Mrs. Rosenberg for helping me out with the Hebrew for the prayers and the Torah ever since last October. I would never expect to be this fluent in Hebrew. Next, I'd like to thank Rabbi Till for helping me with the overall aspects of my bar mitzvah and the speech. I want to thank Cantor Brown for sending me recordings of the Torah and prayers to help me practice and introduce me to the Haftarah. Last, I'd like to thank my parents for their guidance throughout everything. Thank you for coming today. Shabbat Shalom.
It is my honor now to invite a member of our Board of Trustees, Susan Rizzo, to share some words and some gifts on behalf of the congregation.
Hi, Jonas. Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov. I'm very happy to wish you a very big congratulations on behalf of the Temple Sinai Board of Trustees, as well as the larger Temple Sinai community. As you may or may not know, Simon, my son, is in your class, and I didn't remember precisely what year you joined, what grade level that was, but I remember there not being a Jonas and then there suddenly being a Jonas. And even though this was only like in passing in the hallways, which I feel like I say often lately about kids becoming B'nai Mitzvah, that I don't really have much more engagement with them, but you made an impression, even though that was like our only interaction. I just remember you being rather more short than you are now, and with these big, very engaging eyes and a very, very pleasant countenance. And it does not surprise me at all that your portion and then your interpretation of your portion focuses on hospitality. And I feel like, I don't know if you mean to be a commercial airline pilot, but if that's your intention, I feel like that's just an extension of that, because look how you will be someday, facilitating people going in and out of each other's lives and coming together at some very critical times. So anyhow, again, congratulations. Here are some gifts, of course. We have a certificate saying you became a bar mitzvah today. Also from Temple is a Kiddush cup, which Temple hopes you will remember and enjoy as you use it on Shabbat and other holidays. There is a Torah in here, so you can continue your study. There's a certificate from NIFTY for Israel travel and a certificate from the Jewish Federation, also for Israel travel. So here is yours in this nice Temple Sinai bag. And very, good luck and congrats.
Thank you. Thank you, yeah. You don't need to clean up. It's okay. We want you here. We want you here. You can sit with Mom and Dad for a little while. And Susan, thank you. I love what you said about Jonas being a conduit, right? To get so many of us, a connector, to get so many of you. We have not seen our sanctuary full in many months for all the obvious reasons. And Jonas, you are the catalyst. You are the connector. You are the one who brings this energy and this moment to its holiness by getting people someplace different, by leading us in prayer, and by sharing words of Torah with us. I was thinking in advance of today about, I have teens as well, about how hard it is to be a teen right now, that you get so many conflicting messages on a daily basis. You hear, don't spend too much on your screens, but use them for homework. You hear, start building your college application resume early, but just be a kid and enjoy. You hear, go out and meet people, be friendly, but be aware of stranger danger. In addition to the powerful words you just shared with us, today's Torah and Haftarah also give us a lot of food for thought. You and our most sacred texts teach us well. As Genesis unfolds, we are told an old woman and an even older woman, an old woman and an even older man are given a child by God in what appears to be an age-defying miracle. These are the words that you shared with us in the Hebrew. So too do we read about a seeming miracle in the story from your Haftarah from 2 Kings. There, a Shunammite woman with an elderly husband is told by the prophet Elisha, this is who you spoke about, who you chanted about, that she will bear a child despite the apparent impossibility of such an event. And Rabbi Brad Hirschfield notes, in the first story, we are perhaps a bit more able to understand why God performed such a miracle for this old couple. They are, of course, Abraham and Sarah. And if anyone is deserving of a miracle, it must surely be these two, as they become the parents of the entire Jewish people. After all, how could our story as a people unfold without the birth of Isaac? But he asks, what about the Shunammite woman that you read about in your Haftarah? Who is she to merit such a miraculous event? As a character, she seems to be so marginal to the biblical narrative that she remains unnamed, as many women in our texts are, throughout the entire episode in which she, in fact, plays a leading role. So how might we understand the juxtaposition of these two stories? What is it that these two people share that united them across the centuries through a common miracle, despite the obvious differences between them and the role they played in moving our people's story forward, asks Hirschfield. According to the first verse of our Torah reading, God appeared to Abraham by the terebinths of Mamre as he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. A midrash, an ancient commentary, explained that Abraham was sitting in the tent door, in fact watching for travelers to whom he might offer his home and his hospitality. And according to the Haftarah, the Shunammite woman is told that she will conceive after she offers her home and her hospitality to a stranger, who she later comes to know as the prophet Elisha. What connects Abraham and Sarah with the Shunammite woman is their openness to the possibility of each human encounter. It seems that every moment for them is an opportunity to enrich the life of another, to bring comfort and protection to someone on a journey. Seeming miracles result in each of these two stories because the characters open up. They open up their homes and their hospitality by way of opening their hearts. And we are taught that when Abraham met the three disguised angels at the entrance of his tent, he in fact assumed that they were simple nomads, that they were wandering through a desert sandstorm. So Abraham likely didn't have a food truck in the back, but he is in fact credited with inviting them in for quite a feast, including everybody's favorite tongue and fresh baked breads and even condiments. He went that far, we are told in our story. He made a point to prepare a meal fit for the finest gentlemen, with no consideration for the cost or the effort that was required to provide such a meal, teaches Rabbi Avram Rothman. He didn't give them leftovers or a dusty corner to rest. He went out of his way to make them feel welcome and valued, the way your next-door neighbor Jonas did that awful morning of the fire, the way you talked about the older campers at Camp Seneca Lake, making the younger campers feel welcome and important, and the way we strive to welcome all who come to Temple Sinai. But genuine hospitality really means understanding that we are all siblings and that everyone deserves respect, not just a meal and a place to sleep, but care and dignity. And we are all not Abraham's or Sarah's or at least not every day. But today, Jonas, you model for us in the most powerful of ways by the work you have done, by the sharing of your powerful words, by your commitment to scouting and to serving the community, by your collection of food that we see on the bima, what being a modern day Abraham could look like. Today you show us what it is to merit being an ancestor of Abraham and Sarah, and also, like that Shunammite woman living, as she said, among our own people, making a life for ourselves and those who are closest to us. Today you, Jonas, remind us that we can always be on the lookout for that visiting holiness, which is actually often just at our front door. So let us work with openness of heart and hand to, like Abraham and like you, open that door and open the door to a much more robust and holy future. The cantor and I offer you this blessing at this time. May God bless you and may God keep you. May God's face be turned to you. May God be gracious and tender with you. May you know the fullness of God's countenance in all of your ways, and may you be blessed with peace.
Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sheheyanu b'kimanu v'higiyanu l'zman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sheheyanu b'kimanu v'higiyanu l'zman hazeh. Amen. Amen.
We thank God for sustaining us and allowing us to reach this moment in time. Join us, please, as we turn to our concluding prayers, the Aleinu, which can be found on page 586, and we'll invite you, please, to rise.
Aleinu l'shabbat l'Adon ha'kol, ha'tergil aloni yotzer breshit, shelo sargi haratzot, v'lo sabonu g'mishpat ha'adama, shelo samhakinu gahem, v'gorulinu g'al hamanam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtahavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר בחיי אדוני למלך הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We pause now on this Shabbat and every Shabbat, on every holy day, and we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who have died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. During the period of Shloshim, these last 30 days, we are mourning the loss of Richard Wexler, brother of Roberta Borg and uncle of Biffy Borg and Ethan Borg. We're mourning the loss of Eric Weiner, son of Howard and Sue Weiner, Bella Kidder Krasner, mother of Mick Krasner, Bernard Cantor, father of Hope Cantor, Muriel Shirley Kruger, grandmother of Aaron Trimble, Ricky Kaplan, family member of Linda Platt, and Douglas Herrick, father of Craig Herrick. Today marks a yahrzeit, an anniversary of passing for George Adler, Bennett Applebaum, Marilyn Berman, Evan Mark Cherkasky, Herta Ellis, Rose A. Esterson, Arlene Foreman, Louis Fromm, Alice Geiger, Margaret Gerby, Sadie Goldshine, Haskell Goldstein, Louis Golub, Joseph Gorin, Jacob Gould, Sina Hoffman, Samuel Horwitz, Barbara Horwitz, Molly G. Horwitz, Mary Israel, Edith Kahn, Harry Kruskal, Manuel Liederman, Fania Lemberskaya, Boris Lembersky, Hal Levy, Alan Lewis, David Nehemias, Bessie Dinkin Rice, Dorothy Zaretsky, Ruth Rose, Isabel Rosenblum, Julie Rutberg, Solomon Saltiel, Vanya Shablea, Igor Sobozivnikov, and Faye Wolkoff. If there are other names that you would add to either list, or names that are better spoken aloud by you, please, as I look your way, would you share that name with us? And at home, Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing as we turn to page 598 to recite Kaddish Yatom together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam ulnei olmaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'elma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, Huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, as we join together in saying,
Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Please be seated. A few brief announcements this morning, beginning, of course, with a mazel tov to the entire Grafoni family and to all of your extended family who are and guests who are here as well, and most especially to Jonas. Our thank you to Susan Rizzo for being our board presenter today. And a reminder that we have religious school tomorrow morning and a meeting for 8th graders for an Israel trip if you are interested. Israel Now at 10:30. We have our second session of adult ed on Wednesday evening. Martin Buber, Mutuality and Duality, and then we begin again next week, next Friday night, with our Erev Shabbat services at 6 p.m., followed by a brief oneg, and Torah study on Saturday morning, a week from today at 9:15, and then Shabbat morning services where Zachary Flores will be called to the Torah as a bar mitzvah at 10:30 next week. We want to, in the spirit of Jonas's hard work and an encouragement around doing acts of loving kindness, encourage you, please, to continue your giving in whatever way you deem fit. There are any number of opportunities that you can find on our temple website, or it seems that you could speak directly to Jonas as well for his food collection, and we know that he will move it forward into the places where it is best needed as well. We will continue now with Kiddush and Motzi, so we will ask the three of you to join us on the bima at this time. We give thanks. Kiddush raises this day, it sanctifies the day, it reminds us of the sweetness of the day, and Motzi for all that nourishes and sustains us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together, as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Our closing song is Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu on page 657. It's page 657. There are movements to the song, and you can follow Robert Till for the movements, and Jonas, you know the movements? Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Salam Aleinu ve'al korona, Salam, Salam, Salam Aleinu ve'al korona, Salam, Salam, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu ve'al korona, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam.
We wish you a Shabbat Shalom, a good and a healthy week ahead. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Mazel tov.